लेकिन दमनी सेरोज़ी का अंदर असंदा जान रहा कि बाचा माँ खाओ ना मोर माले सेरोज़ मंदा कि ना वाटरिंग है ना सेरोज़ इस्ते कैसा बस जुल्फिया कैसा ही नामज़ादी सही था जुल्फिया रही गिरफ्तानी या कभी खास्ता क्या हमारा इन दुख्तार भी दिन माँ आवाज़ नहीं या 4000 टांगा भी कि सईद बच्चे गरीब वो यतीम वो 4000 टांगा न नदरा I remember, Said, I remember. Zulfia has already cried her eyes out and lost faith. Lost faith? That is very bad. اعتبار بخي منتي سقط مقوي اعتبار نادر ما عادش موقم كي وو دختار تبيشي نالي نمونه كارا مقلنا اصلا مقباورنا مقبيا فرار كن Chapter 28 Mystery. Too well did Khoja Nasreddin know what a great drawing power that word possessed. Secret, suspense, eh? Power of the mysterious power. His plans had been well laid. Agabak now became a daily visitor at the clay hut. It is too early, master. Zudam den, Shemo Sahib. Have patience yet a few more days, Khoja Nasreddin said in reply to his importunities. Agabak grumbled, but submitted. The conversation touched on other matters which seemed at first sight to have no bearing on the secret, but which actually tended in the same direction, albeit by roundabout and indirect ways. So, until your service in Herat, you traveled much about the world, Rozak Bhai? What did you seek? Now, Rozak Bhai gufta na. Cheez mein khas thi, cheez talash dashti. Knowledge. The key to the world's mysteries. According to your words, you visited Makkah too. Wherefore then do you not wear the green turban? I have no right thereto, for I was so busy that I could find no time to perform all the needful rites around the black stone. You were busy? With what? With the search for an ancient book. Found you it? Yes. What book is it? Ask me not, master. It has to do with great things, with evil and good enchantments. Then you are a magician. Nay, on the contrary, I purpose to destroy an evil spell, not to create it. Ma jadur maidanam, jadu jurnanam. What spell is that? Tell me. Not for a few more days, I have patience, master. The chain of questions with slight variations followed the same circle again and again. Naturally, Khoja Nasreddin would not have wasted his time with them had he not found them useful to his purpose. He studied Agabak by his own questions. Truly does the saying run. A fool sows words at random. But the wise man reaps the harvest. Khoja Nasreddin carefully studied all the tortuous twists of Agabak's nature, watched every slip of his tongue, every impulse and motive in his endeavor to find the key to his inner hidden essence. He was, as it were, drawing Agabak's soul from his fat body into the light of the day. The way a drowned person is drawn forth from a pool of water for the purpose of identification. At first, the pool is dark and impenetrable. But then the hook catches, the water becomes agitated, and something white can be dimly glimpsed in the depths. One more tug and the body begins to rise to the surface, frightening the beholder with the ghastly, livid aspect of its dead, bloated face. By its unsightliness and utter inseparability to all that is good, the soul of Agabak strongly resembled this drowned man. And if, furthermore, we were to assume that pool to be a malodorous receptacle of filth, our comparison would achieve the complete and perfect circle of aptitude and fitness. کی که درو علی است است قوارزی که معلوم مش مثل مزوی که مو لاش تو دور کده باشی از منی آو اور واقعا نی اگه بک کسته مو فطرتشی بروکی میمد درو مثل لاشی متعفنی گنده شده وری. Agabak was arrogant, مغرور بود and boastful. کیبر کلو داشت, a lover of fulsome flattery. کسی که قصده میخواند بزو کلو خوش میمد. Former magistrate. به جای خو magistrate منده. He maligned, accused and condemned everyone. تمام را مجرم دمی دور کی جج بوده, magistrate بوده, تمام را فهمید یگو نه جرمانه زده. As though he had been ordained by God to be the supreme arbiter of the world. فقط بگی خدای گفته این روز قیامت دوره تو برو مناره فیصلهش کرده بیا. این تو فیصله هم کرده بوده. He spoke not of himself save in the most solemn terms. از درباره خود گپ خود نمیزد که گپ میزد بس بسیار دم تراخ گپ میزد. Recalling the days of his judicial grandeur with profound sorrow. خیلی غمگین بود که ماش دور از گیر رفت. And not once did he laugh. یک دفعه مسخندی نکرد at himself or joke. خود درباره خود خیلی مزاح کرده باشه یا خود کم زده باشه. From all this, Khoja Nasreddin gathered, for one thing, that he was stupid. For another, that he was dull. Stupid, بیوقوف. For a third, that he was embittered, कि बुग़्ज़ करता بود. And for the fourth, that he still cherished and the fond dream of being reinstated in the honorable and highly lucrative office of magistrate. कि मैं पास बाय दजाए हो रहा हूँ, मैं बेइज्जत चुदा मरबूर कदा इन्हीं रकम तो जुल्म चुदा, मतलब वो दिल चेस्टे के वापस magistrate जोड़ना. This latter circumstance was to Khoja Nasreddin the gaping cleft in the man's shield. उन्होंने जीव रार पैदा किया कि मैं तुरंत कुछ वार के दिन. By gentle and imperceptible means, he turned the conversation to royal courts. Official posts, rewards and promotions. What a bright reason Allah has put into your head, O Master, he cried with mock admiration. It's unbelievable that such a mind should have been overlooked in Khorizm and that you should have been allowed to withdraw from office. Yirqam mind rawna dismiss kada hai. Tu behtarin jaji bhai. These words were balsam to the heart of Agabak. The more so that his exit from the official scene had been precipitated by a too zealous devotion to the art of extortion. Of course, I understand, the post of city magistrate was too mean for you. Khoja Nasreddin proceeded, could they have not chosen something higher for you? Your high position, for instance, that of chief court treasurer? Any king with any sense should snatch at such a treasure with both hands. The court treasury would always be full and all taxes would be collected in time. उतर बादशाह तो कलो बस خوش می‌داشت چون که او इतर आदम की توسطه की مرخصانی को बलागी खजाना हमेशा पुरम बुद्धिया कि तो का सोटा और डंडा और रकम की मशूत रुपये जमा कर दी And many new ones introduced as well. Now Teksam introduced Mukadin Shmoana, cried Agabek, giving the reins to his fancy. Baz the Khalat Raft. A tax on tears. For instance, a great thought. Baba, kya baat hai? A tax on tears would cause more tears. And more tears means more money. And so, without end, with infinite wisdom, why, for that thought alone, you should immediately be given the post of Grand Vizier. Agabek girded up his strength once more and delivered himself of another great thought. And I would introduce another one, a tax on laughter. On laughter, to think what a vizier the Khan of Khwarezm has lost. He must be biting all the nails on his toes with chagrin, I am sure. Khwarezm कहता है बादशाह जो बेवकूफ बुदेगी इन तरह आदम रसल को तो ये लगता है कि बल खंदम में इतने टैक्स बिल करना है. A week passed in this wise. وقفتت كسافر now we teaches us the كم سافر. 1 week passed. The torrid summer rose higher hither into the foothills from the valley, flooding the world with a dry, drowsy heat. The air was breathless. As if the wind had dropped, never to rise again. The lake The lake gleamed like burnished steel. बात के ना बुत बस lake हम still मशना बस दूर बस देखिए steel वाली मालूम नहीं था मगर. Barely perceptible fleeting shadow occasionally skimming across its silvery surface like blown breath upon a mirror. And then everything stood becalmed again in the torrent of incandescent light. A solitary hawk, a solitary hawk hovered in the sky, and the lizard lay in close-eyed torpor on the white stones. The grass had withered, and turned yellow. It's a very strong manzar kashi in here. The grass had withered and turned yellow, glancing at the distant hills. One morning, Khoja Nasreddin saw no sign of the nomad's white tent upon the slopes. The Kyrgyz had struck camp during the night and departed with their herds to the high mountain pastures. Iko kan diga Kyrgyz am mazunu kochai Kyrgyzki do jai tent svichro mugov zadabut. یک صبح که بیدار میشن نصرالدین میگن که بچه اونام رفته کوچ کده. The white snows and blue glaciers were melting in the mountains. The streams carrying the water down into the valley were overflowing. But the villagers of Chorak, yani joyha purazawa, barfa shudariya. But the dwellers of Chorak did not get a drop of this water. Agabek caught it and stored it in his lake. The Chorak fields were languishing in the heat. The time came to watering. Agabek boastfully told Khoja Nasreddin about the damsel whom he was expecting in his house. گفتن حالا چه ما دور رسیده ما می دهات چورک بالا گفتم که دخترک ما میخوایم بیدین مر نک او ما نیه اگر نمیدین دخترک 4000 تانگا ما میخوایم. She is a simple village damsel, of course, but if you saw her, یک دهاتی دختر است مگر اگه بینگرنی گذک بای you would compare her in your thoughts to a rose. مثل گلی گلابلی. And in a day or two I shall open that bud. او گنچه را ما دیگ دوسی روز باز کدینی هم هستم. But is she not plighted? She, plighted, the thought had never entered Agabek's mind. मतलब कि वो already चीज़ा दरा. चीज़ मगा बरा? नामज़ाद दरा. What? With नशिंदा बुत की नामज़ाद दरा. No more than had the damsel's own thoughts and desires. Were not all those villagers wretched, despicable worms in comparison with him? Kide makode ona. Had not destiny itself placed them all in his power in order that their will and their desires should be sacrificed to his will and his desires? Khoja Nasreddin understood the meaning of his puzzled glance and asked no more questions. A heavy rainstorm had passed in the mountains during the night. Shao kheli tufani barish shuda. A gusty wind, laden with the moisture of the distant downpour, beat against the flimsy door of the hut with taut wings until at last it opened. Bursting within, it raised and eddied the ash in the hearth, blew into the face of the sleeping Khoja Nasreddin with his damp breath and disturbed the ass, who seemed to have been waiting for that gust in order to startle the echoes of the night with a hideous jumble of braying, sobbing, hiccuping and gurgling sounds. Manzara duruni ki kharam bedar shda. Khoja Nasreddin awoke, raised his head and listened to the distant rumble of the thunder. Through the open door he beheld the stormy sky. The black clouds seemed to be striking sparks from the towering crags, and fleeting visions of the brooding ridge with its snowy battlements and its black clefts and gaps leapt out to the darkness in the blue-white flashes of lightning. I wonder where my one-eyed companion is now. Ami andwalik chimez matlab jasht. Tufana manzar chi ma zyada detail na morum, matlab you know the manzara diga na. I wonder where my one-eyed companion is now, thought Khoja Nasreddin. Happily he is on the mountain trail. Dem rabasha diga, exposed to the storm. Tufana masta, may Almighty Allah preserve him. Khuda nigah kana ora. Rasa mago khuda rabud diga na. The thief had been constantly in his thoughts. These last few days, a contact would seem to have been established between them across the mountain heights and passes, too feeble for thought transference, yet sufficient for conveying to each other their feelings, or rather the echo of feelings. mountain system transmission dasht. البته او قدر مضبوط نبود زوراور تکنولوژی شی که مو thought پورا deliver کنه مگر ما احساس رو deliver مکد باین خواردو بولجا داشت. Can it be that I have formed such close bonds of affection with him? ما يقدر مطلب قزويت رندوال شدو ميقزويت. Khoja Nasreddin reflected, recollecting that such contact at great distances had seldom occurred with him before. شركة زبيش قدر قوي كونكشن قد كسب استنك دادي همزوي بار بار كده خيال شما أنا بس يوم قبلا ما خزيب خلم قلبي يجو signal on كده. And then only with people who lay closest to his heart. وما مشى أزوناك قلبنا نزديك بده. Yestereve, yesterday, yestereve. دي شوان. Yestereve. That sense of contact had become almost tangible. خد جم جاگایا اسم كنا tangibly level hisam da. Khoja Nasreddin had suddenly been seized with a vague disquiet mounting to alarm. ये खो disquiet है कि मतलब हम आरामिश तो कम disturb शुदे, लेकिन alarm level कैसा ज़्यादा रो मतलब दिल तो मिथपा disturb शुदे. What has befallen him in Kokand? He asked himself, but he could not guess, of course. It so happened that at the very moment the thief had been sitting in the chest with the grandee for company. He is in danger. He is in danger, Khoja Nasreddin had mentally exclaimed, expressed in his mind. So violent had been his agitation that a particle of his strength had transported itself to Kokand. Kak chote zor shi parwaz kad bekhi farid raf amutem ke mu power amutem badavchesh to the closed chest in the house of that merchant. Hence the sudden saving inspiration that had caused the thief to throw back the lid of the chest and present himself before the confounded gaze of the merchant in a cloud of fluff. You have no idea. What happened thereafter in the house of the merchant, we know. So there is no need to repeat ourselves. At the other end of the contact, in the clay hut, not of importance had occurred, unless we count the tranquility of mind that had been suddenly restored to Khoja Nasreddin. وهي طرف د منیزی خانه گلی میلها دور هیچ کار خاص نشته بود فقط انمیه که امو اطمینان خاطر شی واپس دگیر شماد دلش قرار گرفت. He had breathed with relief, knowing now beyond any doubt that the danger which had hung over the thief in Kokand had passed him by without causing him any harm. His heart had become at ease, and he had laughed, feeling that the thief, upon his return, would relate to him a tale of a most diverting nature. گفتو مایا بس قصانه بچهش که چیز بود گفتیم که سیگنال مایا میماد ما رفت رو. Khoja Nasreddin had remained in the cheerful frame of mind. خوشحال بود till the very night of the storm که مشاو طوفان شدنی بود, and even when he had fallen asleep he continued to see cheerful dreams. Awakened by the storm and thunderclap, he lay for a long time thinking of the thief. But not a single echo of disquiet could be discovered in his heart. And he would soon return. Khoja Nasreddin rose to shut the banging door and beheld Saeed. The youth slipped into the hut and whispered in a voice of pleading, "Forgive me for having broken my pledge." Forgive me for having broken my pledge and coming to you, but my reason is squeezed between the pincers of anguish. 3 days remain until the watering. گفته بود که تو مطلب مرا ملاو شدنی نی یک تواریز ما گفتنی نی دو سه چیز گفته دورا یک شی بود که تو قزمه ملاقات اندنی نی تاکي پلان مکمل نشه لیکن دمنی سه روزی گام درسنده جان را که باچا ما خاونه مورمالی سه روز منده که این واترینگ یعنی سه روز است که است بس زلفیا که است ای نامزادی سعیده و زلفیا را ای گرفتنی یک بیک خواسته که مرا این دختر بدین ما آواز نمی یا 4000 ټانګه بدین که سعید بچی غریب و یتیم و 4000 ټانګه هم نداره. I remember, Said, I remember. Zulfia has already cried her eyes out and lost faith. Lost faith? That is very bad. اعتبار بخی منتی سقط. مگو اعتبار ندارم ما هرچه موگم که او دختر تو بیشی نالی نمونه کاره. مگر اصلاً مگر باور نه مگر به فرار کنی مگر اعتبار نه it's very bad situation happily we should run away together while there is yet time بس ما هم دم زی قانشتم که میخواستیم که گیرز موستم فرار کنی هم زی دیهات تکرت باری if there is to be any running away all three of us should run اگر قصه بلی دوتا که دو یک باید ارسیم فرار کنی ما هم شاملم دیگه نه nay all four of us for how can I leave my ass behind راست مگه سه نه چهار روی خرم که فرموش نکن این مسته and not four but five I have forgotten another who should appear in Chorak at any moment درای دیگه مرسد چورک 5 نفری ما that will be not fight but a great going out he laid his hand upon Saeed's shoulder tell your Zulfiya that all is well just as it should be she will not believe tell her in my name she knows you not Turkey Mishnazau but you yourself Saeed do you believe me still خود تجتور باور داری بلیزم he looked into Saeed's eyes with a hot glance that burns through darkness and penetrates to the heart thus does a sunbeam passing through closed eyelids irradiate the scarlet blood it was impossible to resist that glance I believe said Saeed softly then she will believe too your faith will pass to her go remember we stand always together whatever may happen we stand together at the ebb of night he met with Zulfiya his faith passed into her and her spirit was revived and we close chapter 28 in here.